connecting and discussing. And I believe that at the end of this event, we will all be loaded with facts, tips from our speaker, our guest speaker, John Carter, who will be speaking from the United Kingdom. Welcome once again. This is the Futo iHub. It's a program that they initiated during the pandemic to actually reach out to their to our friends and partners, but it has grown to what we have today. So our names are there, our friends, everybody's faces are there. So please, I want to advise you to have your mics off so that we don't have interference while the lecture is going on. Please make use of the chat session. If you have any query or any information you want to get across while the lecture is going on, please make sure it is utilize it. If you have any question, you have any query as the lecture goes on, please use the chat session. Our technical team will collate the questions and we will find a way of making sure that all your questions and queries are attended to. And also, as the event goes on, there is something that I will leave that to the speaker to handle. Is something that one of us or some of us is going to benefit aside having this lecture. And also, he has promised to make sure that if you stay to the end of the event, you will have the PDF file of the lecture he's going to share with us today. So, and make sure that you stay with us from the beginning to the end. And also, I want to use this opportunity to thank our partners and our partners that have been supporting us in every form, morally and otherwise. Although we are yet officially get sponsors for this event, we are still working towards getting sponsors so that we can, make this a very huge package. But we want to thank TMiT Industries, makers of TMiT hair cream. The CEO and founder has been a great support. I want to thank ETC Foods. They've been of great and immense support from the first day we started this event. And also, I want to thank GMO Industries for also being there for us and all the individuals that I might not be able to mention now. They have been of great and immense support with their advices and moral support. So I want to thank them and recognize them at this point. And without wasting much of the time, we will be taking the citation. If I'm correct, are we ready for that? The technical team will be taking the citation of the guest speaker. After the citation, then the guest speaker will handle the mic and take off with the lecture proper. At this point, I want to leave it out to my co-host, if she's ready, to do justice to that part. Mr. Joseph, is he there? Mr. Joseph? Okay, Mr. Joseph is still trying to connect. Just a few minutes, let me we'll go to that section quickly.
Okay, Moses, I think while we wait for I'll wait for Joseph. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I'll wait for Joseph. Let us take, thank you so much, Moses, for the, for starting up with a very bright speech. And thank you so much, John, for making it on time and making and giving out this time. We know how much it costs to get someone like you to get to speak to people who really need to listen. We're happy that we have a number of CEOs in this conversation today and a number of our people who are ready to get to the next level in their business. And we are glad that the team, the Innovation Hub team, is taking this TMiT talk to another level. And we are sure that in the coming years, it is going to be at par with talks like the TED Talks and all of the other talks. And the TMiT is the most important tip series. If some of us are just getting to know about this talk, it's called TMiT, which means the most important tip series. And this was actually started few months after the lockdown, and the team thought that rather than wait until it is after the lockdown and they opened the office at Sulere, where they shared a virtual office where people go down, share spaces for training, for A-class offices, A-class boardrooms. So why would they continue to wait when there is an opportunity to get people to walk around this pandemic? And so the TMiT was actually formed to get people ready, and so that immediately after the pandemic, people will begin to readjust themselves, knowing that this is what is going to happen after that. And interestingly, we have had somebody who has been mentored to get a grant, and we are having two people who are presently being mentored. And the name was mentioned here. The CEO of TMiT, who is here, has been doing so wonderfully well and putting so much inspiration and pressure on the team to come out with a structure to raise funds that will be used to fund ideas. And so what it means is that this particular talk by John is going to come very, very handy, and it's coming at the right time so that people will begin to understand what it takes to actually be an employee and play around employees, and what it takes to be an employee and go to the next stage, and what it all takes to actually run around an employment post-pandemic. A lot of people have staff now that are working remotely, and a lot of people are working and earning remotely. A lot of people are working from homes, and you see, it's even the nursing mothers are now able to cope and deliver on the job. So it's an awesome thing that we're having this, and we're so glad that it's happening to us at this point in our lives and in our career. So that's a summary of TMiT and the Innovation Hub. And I think by now, either Ijoma or Joseph are ready to deliver citation so that we can begin very quickly.
Okay, Mr. Collins, thank you very much for that insight. It's quite interesting. That's the beginning of our journey, and like you mentioned, this is the 8th series since we started this program less than a year, and we have had series of participants that have taken us to the next level. At this point, I would like to use this few minutes to read out the citation of Mr. John Carter so that we can actually launch into the main lecture. For those of us who do not know John Carter is a force behind remote working improvement initiatives globally, a jobportfolios.com program. He is the founder of the company, 5 times headhunted, twice by universities in the UK, all because of his imaginative approach to work and to training. London University asked him to create a training program and teach all their lecturers his style of teaching and training. If you ask Mr. John about his current advice to both job seekers and the employer, he will say a few things. Go back to the future and the Lego principles. If anyone is interested in detailed explanation of what he means by that statement, you can feel free to contact Mr. John Carter. His information will also be detailed as we move on so that we can plug in to Mr. John Carter, because it is not a one-off event. The things that he's going to say and show us today are not things that we will do away with at once, because the pandemic has not actually disappeared. Without much ado, I want to welcome Mr. John Carter. If we're in a physical meeting, I believe we should have given him a round of applause and a standing ovation because of the quality of the person that we have in our midst, in the person of John Carter. At this point, I want to say welcome our guest speaker, Mr. John Carter. I think you can have the mic now. You can unmute and give us what we all have been waiting for. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating, and let us all begin. Mr. John, you're on.
Thank you, Moses. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes,
yes.
I can hear you.
Lovely.
Yes,
earlier, I must say, Moses, you brought a smile to my face because you said John Carter from the United Kingdom. And I had to smile because I said to myself, how united is this kingdom with all that is going on? But there you go. It is called the United Kingdom. But as I start, I'd also like to echo what Moses and Mr. Collins said, to welcome you and to thank you for giving up your precious time to listen to my presentation. And I'd also just like to mention a couple of points that you may find helpful. As mentioned, you may not have spotted it, but due to the possibility that there could be Wi-Fi interruptions, 90% of what I'm going to say, you will be able to download at the end. So please do not get frustrated or angry if there are any delays of a minute or two, because 90% is available to you to download at the end. The second point I want to mention, which is also touched on by, I believe, either Mr. Collins or Moses, is the fact that if you are a job seeker or you are a career changer, please keep your eyes and your ears alert to the opportunities that will come through the program for you to win gift coupons valued between 50 and 100 pounds. So gift coupons valued between 50 and 100 pounds will be available to the winners of the quiz questions that will pop up from time to time during my presentation. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen with everybody so that I can get into my presentation. So please bear with me for a minute while I try to share my screen. Now, I'm hoping that everyone can see my screen. Can you confirm?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, it's on.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the film Back to the Future. It was about a character called Marty McFly, a 17-year-old high school student who is accidentally sent 30 years into the past in a time-traveling DeLorean car invented by his close friend, the eccentric scientist, Doc Brown. Well, we today, we may need to go back. We may need to go back to learn lessons that will help us deal with the new future that's heading our way. But unlike Marty McFly of the film Back to the Future, our going back will not be accidental. It will be deliberate. We're making the choice to deliberately go back in order to learn lessons for the future. So if I was to say to you, 9/11, 9/11, where would your mind go back to? Would your mind go back to, for example, what's been happening or what happened a year ago when George Floyd had his life taken from him and bystanders who were watching were taking films of it? And then some of them were ringing 9/11, 911, which is the police number in America, in the US. And they were complaining at what they were seeing. Or maybe your mind would go back to another 9/11, the infamous day that 2 airplanes crashed into the Twin Towers. Well, that, however, is not the 9/11 that I am referring to. The 9/11 that I want us to go back to is in reference to the 9th chapter and the 11th verse written by a man who we call King Solomon, an ancient ruler of the nation of Israel, who wrote, "I have seen something further under the sun, that the swift do not always win the race, nor do the mighty win the battle, nor do the wise always have the food, nor do the intelligent always have the riches, nor do those with knowledge always have success." Why? Because time and the unexpected events overtake them all. Boy, how we have all experienced the truth of those words these past 12 or so months, whether employee or employer. No matter which part of the world we may live in some way or other, we have had to recognize that time and the unforeseen, the unexpected, can sweep the carpet from under anyone's feet and leave us disorientated and confused. Isn't that true? Isn't it true? Unexpected events have literally changed some of our lives and impacted on our lives in amazing and sometimes tragic ways. Sometimes for the good, many times for the bad. Interestingly, the insurance industry was built on the back of the unexpected. And as mentioned in the last talk, talk 7, insurance plays a major role in keeping the economy afloat when major economic storms hit it. However, as we shall see a little later on, even insurance companies factor the unexpected into their calculations. They take the unexpected very seriously, and so should we. Really, that's a principle of life that we need to factor into when we're making decisions and setting targets and goals, whether as a worker or as an employer. We have to factor into our lives, be as prepared as you can for the unexpected. Just want to think about who's had to deal with it over the years. For thousands of years, mariners have faced the unexpected. Unexpected storms, change of wind direction, no wind, piracy. Imagine that. For thousands of years, they've had to travel across the oceans, but all the time they're factoring in to be prepared for the unexpected. And these are workers, aren't they? They're trying to earn a living. But if a ship, a small boat or a large boat was trying to deliver goods to another part of the country or the world, and they made preparation and they set sail, they couldn't say, oh, it will only take 5 days or 10 days. No, there's no point saying, I will just take food for 5 days because if there's no problem, it will take 5 days. No, they had to factor the unexpected and take extra food because they did not know what they were going to face. So how did they survive for hundreds and hundreds of years with the unexpected? Well, they survived by, first of all, accepting that the unexpected happens and by adapting, by being innovative, like the catamaran or using insurance. You see the catamaran in the picture there? The catamaran is a fairly recent modernization of sailing, and they even have catamarans now that they use as ferries to ferry people and cars. So that's innovation. You can't avoid the unexpected, but you can innovate. Insurance is another source of innovation. But let's look at an example of where even insurance has to itself factor in the unexpected. See? Insurance companies insure ships against things like theft and damage. And most shipping companies will not sail without some form of insurance because they are well aware of the unexpected. And you notice I keep mentioning this factor, unexpected, because we need, even though we're not on the sea, we're on land, but we are traveling, we're going through journeys from A to B in our work, in our career, in our business. We're on a journey. So we need to always bear in mind the unexpected. And like I said, the insurance companies, they've been around now for 300 years or more, but they have soon learned that they need to factor in the unexpected when they are insuring others against the unexpected. So take that picture there of the oil tanker. Imagine it's the oil tanker that was in the Suez Canal recently, the Ever Going. It blocked the Suez Canal and prevented other ships from sailing through. Now, what caused the initial blockage? Well, the captain of the ever-going tanker said it was bad weather, unexpected weather, fog, wind. But this caused unexpected delays to hundreds of tankers on either side of this main tanker, the Evergreen. And interestingly, unexpected delays, as it says at the bottom there, caused by acts of God, for example, bad weather conditions, are not covered by most, if not all, insurance companies. That's why they call them acts of God in the little clauses that they include in the policy details. So if they take it that seriously, again, we need to take it seriously also and factor that principle when we are dealing with looking for work, gaining work, in work, and whether we're an employee who is an employer, sorry, who is trying to build a business. Now, I want to move on to going back to the future, but not quite as far back as 3,000 years. I want to go back to the 17th century. Let's go back again then. This time, a few hundred years, and John Ray, he was born in England in the 17th century, and he was a botanist and a zoologist. And he is credited with the saying, "What's good for the goose is good for the gander." I don't know whether you've ever heard that saying. It's quite popular. But today, however, today it is no longer used in reference to geese. Today, it is usually used, as you can see from the image, to mean what's good for the man is good for the woman. Have you heard it used in that context? I'm sure that quite a number of you have. However, in this presentation, I wanted to use that expression, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, to mean what's good for the job seeker is good for the employer. So that's how I'm going to use, I want to use this saying, which goes back 300 years, but I want to use it in this way today. So, first of all then, let's go back in time, just a few years, not long, but this time I want to go back from the perspective of a job seeker who is in the creative industry. So I'm using the creative industry because it's going to illustrate some of the points and recommendations and tips that I'm going to make in my presentation. So now, I want you to imagine that you are a job seeker in the creative industry a year ago, before the pandemic. So here's the question. Do you think that an unknown fashion designer is likely to go to a job interview empty-handed and rely mainly on the CV or resume they sent in and which may have got them the interview? So you understand the question? Imagine you are a fashion designer, unknown. Is it likely to go to a job interview empty-handed and rely on your resume? Well, I want you to think about that as we move to the next question. Why is it very unlikely that a fashion designer would go to a job interview empty-handed? Now, here's the first opportunity for you to win one of the prizes, the gift coupon prizes, valued between 50 and 100 pounds. I want you to think of the answer you would give to that and send me your answer and the reasons for your answer. And the best one will receive a Back to the Future prize. We call it Back to the Future prize. We don't mean the film, a ticket to the film. We mean a prize that we are calling Back to the Future. So remember, don't have to worry to write it down now, because at the very end, you will be able to download the whole of the presentation, which will include all these slides and the videos that are going to be presented later on. But that's the question that you can answer and send in. And how you send it in, again, is mentioned at the very end on the last slide. So now let's move to another question. What kind of impression would the prospective employer get if this unknown fashion designer came into the interview room empty-handed? Do you think it would be a good impression or a bad impression? Bear in mind that they've gone to the interview, but they're in the fashion industry. And they walked in with nothing in their hand. Question 4. Why did you answer the way you did to my last question? So obviously when I asked the question, some of you came to an answer in your head. Good impression, bad impression. And you may have given reasons. So send me your answer and the reasons for your answer. And the best one, again, will receive a Back to the Future prize. So if, and I hope most of you will agree, that it is very unlikely that an unknown fashion designer would go empty-handed to a job interview, can anyone guess what my next question is likely to be? So what do you think my next question is likely to be? Well, I'm going to share with you a video, and during the video, see if you can see the answer to what my next question is likely to be.
Before your next job interview, watch this video. A CV resume may get you a job interview, but a job portfolio will get you the job. At her job interview, this designer shows samples of her designs as evidence of her portfolio. A CV resume.
Sorry about that, folks. It was my fault. You have to start again.
For your next job interview, watch this video. A CV resume may get you a job interview, but a job portfolio will get you the job. At her job interview, this designer shows samples of her designs as evidence of her portfolio. A CV resume may have got her an interview, but it is her job portfolio that will get her the job, because seeing is believing. Since a designer would never ever attend a job interview without a job portfolio, why do 95% of all job seekers go to job interviews without one? The answer is simple. They can't take one. Their previous employers will not allow them to take samples of their work home to create a job portfolio. Yet, over the years that this ex-employee worked for her previous employer, she produced several excellent reports and valuable data analysis. Imagine if her previous employer allowed her to take samples of her best work to a job interview as part of her job portfolio. Whenever you do some work for one of our network of client companies, they allow you to select work projects you are proud of to create a job portfolio. In summary, 95% of the global workforce rely on CV resumes to get them a job interview, then walk into the interview empty-handed and rely mainly on their verbal skills. From today, 95% of the workforce can enter the interview room with a job portfolio. Come to us. Globally, we can provide you with 1 to 28 days of work opportunities to enable you to create your very own job portfolio to take to job interviews.
Thank you. So again, for any that have just recently joined our program, all the videos and slides will be available to download in a PDF format at the end of this presentation. So please don't worry if you just joined and you think you've missed something important. So, did you notice from the video what my next question is likely to be? And what the answer to it is? Well, let's see if the following 2 clips that I'm going to show you next helps to remind you. I'm showing you 2 clips from the video to see if they can help you remind you. So this clip says, since a designer would never, ever attend a job interview without a job portfolio, why do 95% of all job seekers in the world we're talking about go to job interviews without one? Imagine that. Designers would never go without one, but 95% of all other job seekers go to interviews empty-handed. So did you all guess what the question is when you watch the video? Let's move on to the answer. And what about the answer? The answer is simple. They can't take one. Their previous employers will not allow them to take samples of their work home for them to create a job portfolio that they could now take with them, like designers, to a job interview. So there she stands, empty-handed at her interview. At this point, we should all say, ah, what a shame. But let's move on and see. So here's the next question. If employees were allowed by their employer to take samples of some of their best work to a job interview, so long, of course, that as it was not considered confidential, what percentage of employees do you think would take up the opportunity? So imagine your company, you're working for a company, and in the policy of employment, they say to you, we are happy to allow individuals who do some work that's not confidential to take samples of their work should they have to leave or they need to go to another job. We're happy for them to take samples of their work that they've done for us over the years to give evidence of their potential to the next employer. Go to HR and put forward your request. I mean, how many people would walk out of an interview after 10, 12, sorry, not after, out of a job that they maybe worked for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, empty-handed, if they were being told they could take samples? So send me your answer and the reasons for your answer. And as it says there, the best one will receive a Back to the Future prize. Contrastingly, going back to the future with us will mean that whenever you do some work for one of our network of client companies, they will allow you to select work projects that you are proud of in order to create a job portfolio. So this lady here, she's not a designer, but the company she worked for, one of our companies, they allowed her to select samples of her work, her best work. And now she's showing that at her next job interview. So in summary, 95%, let's summarize. In summary, 95% of the global workforce rely on CVs and resumes to get them a job interview. That's a fact. But then they walk into the interview empty-handed and rely mainly on their verbal skills. From today, 95% of the workforce can enter the interview room with a job portfolio, just like designers have done for many years. You see the theme, go back to the future? We're going back to what designers have done for many years, and we want to bring it to the future to give the opportunity to the other 95% to be able to do the same as designers do. Hopefully, one day, it may be the case that no job seeker, designer or otherwise, will enter a job interview empty-handed. The following short video will display several positive impacts that when the approach those in the creative industries have used for many decades on a job interview, and for both the employee and the employer. So this video can be of interest to both the employee and the employer.
I'll be honest with you, I've pretty much made up my mind. However, your CV caught my eye. Stating that you would bring a job portfolio to your interview was a great persuader. Also, attaching 2 job references was a nice proactive move. Explain to me what's involved in doing a work placement as an international court trial reporter.
I can do better than just explain. I downloaded a job portfolio for you to see.
So these are the samples of some of your own work? A job portfolio is very helpful, as it gives me a much better idea of your potential.
Yes, the company I did my placement with allows you to select samples of your own work to build a job portfolio to take to a job interview like designers do. I did court trial reporting work during my work placement.
Your job portfolio is very impressive. With no previous experience in law, weren't you a bit scared going to court on your own?
Yes, I was, but the company allows you to choose to do work experience in a group, for example, with a friend.
That's a novel. Did you start off doing your work placement with a friend?
I could have, but the training made things very clear, and I was keen to get going.
What was the focus of your reports?
Reports can focus on the whole of a case or aspects of a case. I chose to concentrate mainly on court trial sentencing outcomes.
So what does the company do with your reports?
Eventually, they get assessed for possible inclusion in their database. The company is developing a library of global court case outcomes.
Annabella crossover. I'm impressed. But I'm not going to offer you the job advertised. Instead, I'm going to offer you a better job. Since we already have your job references, when can you start?
So, what I'd like us to do for a few minutes now is just to review the video for issues that you may have spotted and solutions. And some of these issues and solutions you may find, again, useful in your own job hunting, job changing journey that you are taking. So let's look at a clip and see what we can spot on the video. So do you remember this clip? The employer or the interviewer, said, "I'll be honest with you. I've pretty much made up my mind." Have you ever felt that happened with you as a job seeker? Are you aware that sometimes if you're the 15th or the 20th interviewee, that somewhere down the line, a mind has been made up, but they're just going through the process of interviewing you because you're there and they don't want to say, "Sorry, I've made up my mind, you can go." But in this particular depiction, the interviewer, or the employer says, "I'll be honest, I've pretty much made up my mind." So that's an issue that you may need or have faced, overcoming a made up mind. Overcoming a made up mind. So Let's just look at a question related to this first. Do you believe that one of the challenges a job seeker at an interview faces is an interviewee, should have said interviewer, sorry, misspelling there, an interviewer who has, to all intents and purposes, already made up their mind? Do you believe that's a challenge that is real when you go for a job interview? Send me your answer and the reasons for your answer. And again, the best one will receive a prize. Another clip. Sorry. You see here, although the employer had pretty well made up their mind, this is what he said. However, your CV caught my eye, stating that you would bring a job portfolio to your interview was a great persuader. Also, attaching 2 job references was a nice proactive move. What happened here? Is pretty much made up their mind, but curiosity, the use of curiosity to kill the cat, or in this case, to kill the made up mind. The interviewer was curious. What is this job portfolio gonna show me? Maybe they had heard about it through the network about people now taking job portfolios to interviews with samples of their work. And it got him curious. Let's look at the next clip. What was the reply? Sorry, I beg your pardon. Let me just go back one. Yeah, that's right. So she satisfied that curiosity. How? As she said there, I can do better than just explain, because he asked her to explain something. She said, I can do better than that. I have downloaded a job portfolio for you to see. So she was saying, I don't need to explain in words. I can show you, so you with your own eyes can see. So satisfy the employer's curiosity is what was happening here. So what was the result of that? His reply was, having looked at some of what she showed him from her portfolio, so these are samples of some of your own work. He wasn't reading what she could do, he was looking at what she has done. A job portfolio is very helpful, as it gives me a much better idea of your potential. Help the employer to literally see your potential by using a job portfolio. Help the employer to literally. Remember what it said in the first video? Seeing is believing. So here's a question. At the end of that video, why do you think that the employer did not offer Annabella a job on a 3-month trial basis? Then if you remember at the end, he said, oh, I'm going to offer you a better job. When can you start? He didn't say, well, subject to a 3-month trial. So why do you think based on that video, which you can review when you download it at the end, did he not offer Annabella a job on a 3-month trial basis? Again, send me your answer and the reasons for your answer. The best one, again, will receive a Back to the Future prize. Now I'm going to review a few tips, but I'm wondering, we've now literally done 45 minutes. Should we stop for a break now, or can I run through a few more slides before we do? Mr. Moses, Mr. Collins?
Okay, Mr. John, thank you very much so far. I think from our plan, we can take a little break of about 5 minutes, and the technical team would like to have a very brief questionnaire for all attendants to please attend. Please, the questionnaire will come on screen, come to you. So please, please help us to fill in those questionnaires as soon as possible so that we can go on. Okay, the questionnaire is on the screen. So from wherever you are, please, you will have to make take an option so that we can run through. The questionnaire is right on the screen. So please, we encourage all our participants. This is meant to help us to move to the next level. So while this is going on, Mr. John can sip water and refresh so that we can continue in the next few minutes. So please, let's all participate, please. It's very important to help us, to help our organization, and to help our planning so that we can do much more better. Okay, so those of you that are still have not attempted it, please do. We're about running up. It's a simple questionnaire for the Future iHub organization to help in getting us to know how you feel about our program and also how to make it better for subsequent editions. Okay, we're almost at the 2 minutes mark. So Mr. John, you'll be ready. If this is done, I leave it in the hands of the IT department to begin to collate, and let's run over that part so that we can all continue. Okay, the IT department, if you are satisfied, please, we would like Mr. John to continue if you're satisfied with what you got. Okay. Okay, Mr. John.
The questionnaire,
okay,
the questionnaire is blocking my screen at the moment.
Okay, IT, you can do something to that. So that we can move on. We might have to come back to this later, maybe at the end of the event, for those that will still join at the end. So we can make do with this. Mr. Uche, are you there? Okay, Mr. John, you have your screen back?
Okay, I've got my screen back.
Okay, please continue.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So before I move forward, sorry, someone put it back again. It's now back again. What's going on? So what I'd like to understand is, am I competing with a questionnaire on other people's screen, or are they 100% with me, the audience?
We are 100% with you.
Yeah, John, we're with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I am with you.
Okay. So I want to just go back.
Yeah, I am with you.
Okay, thank you guys for reassuring me. I want to go back to the previous clip before I move forward. So this clip here. At the bottom, I mentioned, I wrote on the slide, don't be surprised if this happens. And some of you may have wondered, what do I mean by don't be surprised if this happens? And I'm referring to the fact that he said, Annabella crossover, I'm impressed, but I'm not going to offer you the job advertised. Instead, I'm going to offer you a better job. Now, the reason why I said don't be surprised if this happens is because in my in my career, training and helping people, I personally can recall 2 instances where individuals have come back to me and said to me, guess what? I applied for job A and I was offered job D. So one example was a man, he was an Asian man in the UK who had gone on one of our programs. And he sent an email, I can't remember what it was, an email or something, to explain that he had applied for a job in the Serious Fraud Office, which was headquartered in London, as an executive officer, an EO. This is going back some 10, 15 or so years back. So he applied for this job in the Serious Fraud Office as an executive officer, an EO. But as a result of the interview, at the end, exactly what happened here happened to him. He said, you won't guess what happened. They said to me that based on what they have seen of me in my training, they felt that I would be in a position to occupy the place of an SEO, a senior executive officer. And he was appointed as a senior executive officer. Another occasion, I remember this guy, he moved from London to Scotland with his young family. His wife had just given birth and they needed a bigger accommodation. So they moved to Scotland. And he applied for a job as a consultant. I can't remember what kind of company it was. But he contacted me later on to say to me, he was so amazed and shocked. He said to me, you know what? I applied for this job as a consultant, and now they're saying to me that they want me to actually work as an area manager. And he was flabbergasted, because not only had he moved from London to Scotland and was prepared to do whatever, he was now being offered an area management of an area he didn't know, which was parts of Scotland. So don't be surprised if this happens, because it can. Okay, let's move to tips now. One tip I would give to everybody who's looking for a job or a career change is use sales tactics. See yourself as a product. Now, in many parts of the world, There's this sales tactic: buy one, get one free. I'm sure many of you would have come across it. And it works. If I go into a shop and I want a jar of coffee, and one brand says, buy one, get one free. As long as it's not a rubbish brand, my mind is saying, oh, let me take this opportunity. So to a prospective employer, as it says in that slide, you are a product or a service. However, unlike a food item, such as a drink or a biscuit, buying your services may cost them many, many thousands of whatever currency over several years. So when you're in front of them, you've got to make them feel that they are getting great value for their money. Let me illustrate. The price of a jar of coffee is very, very different to the price of a new car. Now imagine you are in the market for a new car. BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Volkswagen. And you're searching for a deal. And then you spot this offer. Buy one, get one free. You can't believe it, but you look at it and you dig into it, and it's true. They are saying, buy an Audi 6 and we will give you an Audi 3 for free. Are you going to continue looking for a good deal? I don't think so. This is one of those high cost items, and you are really getting value for your money. How much does an Audi cost? A Mercedes, a BMW? It can be less than what an employer will eventually pay for your services over several years. Is it any wonder then that an employer will be looking for value for their money? And you need to understand that principle. You need to see yourself as a product, a service that you want to say to the prospective employer, buy me, buy my services. I am value for money. I am buy one, get one free. Tip number 2, think 2-step. Always think 2-step. A great CV or resume may get you an interview. That's step 1. You've got the interview, wonderful. But remember, only a knockout interview will get you the job, which is step 2. Many make the mistake of working so hard to get the interview that when they get the interview, oh, I've got an interview, and they're thrilled. But they don't work even harder to make sure that they produce a knockout interview. Because it is only a knockout interview, step 2, that is going to get you the job. Step 3, when you're applying, encourage curiosity. See, on our program, you can offer to bring authenticated samples of previous work, if granted an interview. So in effect, you're saying, if you give me an interview, I will bring you samples of work that I have done. Encourage curiosity. Make them want to see your samples, because believe it or not, seeing is believing. Going back to the designer, can you imagine a designer walking into a job interview without a portfolio to show samples of their work? And they just simply said, oh, no, I'm absolutely fantastic. I'm a great designer. Do not worry. You know, you'll never be disappointed with my designs. My designs are mouth-watering. They are, they're so imaginative, so colorful. Nobody will see my designs and not want to buy the dress or the trouser or the jacket when I design and I come and work for you. It's not going to work, is it? The prospective employer, he needs to see, or he or she needs to see, because seeing is believing. So offer to do that when you're applying for a job. Next tip. Always remember that going from unemployment to employment is like going on a car journey. The route may change due to diversion and other unexpected events, but the destination or goal remains the same, doesn't it? If you're driving from Lagos to Abuja, which many of you would not do, but if you were, would you expect to encounter no problems along the road? If you came across a flooded part of the road, or a car accident, or some other diversion, would you say, oh my goodness, my journey it's not the way I planned it, so I think I'll turn back and go back? Of course you wouldn't. If you had a GPS on board, you would tap your GPS and say, seek alternative route. Alternative route. Why? Because your goal, your destination has not changed. So always remember that. It's a journey, and you must be prepared for the unexpected and not be thrown off course or made to feel you need to give up because this unexpected that you weren't expecting happened. Look for an alternative route, a way round the problem, so that you can continue with your journey. So, question. Have you heard the expression, laws may change, but principles are timeless? In conjunction with the last tip, can you explain and illustrate what it means and how it can be used in the job seeking process? So, laws may change. For example, you're driving along a road where it says speed limit 90 kilometers. That's a law. A few days later, you're driving along the same road and suddenly it says speed limit 60 kilometers. The law has changed. But does that mean the principle is different? What was the principle behind 90 kilometers per hour? It's your safety. Health and safety is the principle. Because they consider that 90 kilometers per hour is safe, they allow it. But something has happened that has now jeopardized that principle of health and safety. So the government says we must reduce the speed at this location, at this point in time, to 60 kilometers. The law has changed, but the principle is the same. Health and safety. Same principle, different laws. So I'm encouraging you to think of how the principle applies to the last tip or any other tip that I may have given you. Again, send your answers to us, me, and the best one will get a prize. So we can help job seekers. We can help you if you're a job seeker. Are you currently job seeking or think that you may be sometime in the near future? Or do you know someone who is? We can offer free of charge unlimited numbers of opportunities to create a job portfolio by doing remote work experience with our growing network of supportive businesses worldwide. So wherever you are based, whatever country you're based, through our network of businesses, we're going to offer you unlimited opportunities to do remote work experience for these companies. So you'll be doing work, but it's like working from home, remotely, for one of the network businesses that we work with. So who is this suitable for? Well, it is suitable for absolutely anyone. Why do we say that? Because our work experience program for creating job portfolios to take to job interviews, because it operates on the Lego principle. Can you see that picture of the Lego bricks? Do any of you remember when you were young playing with Lego bricks? I do. And I'm fairly old, or should I say fairly young. So that principle then, the Lego principle, is what's behind it. Like using Lego bricks, you can make it simple or make it complicated. So blue collar or white collar job seekers are welcome to this program. So as you see in those two images, the first one is a very simple construction, but it's a construction. On the other hand, you can use Lego bricks to make things very detailed and very complex. And that's the second image. It is made of Lego parts. So our program is absolutely available to anyone. The individual just needs to pick up, as it were, the Lego bricks and make something simple or make something complicated. Whether it is simple or complicated, it is better than going empty-handed to a job interview. I hope you will agree with that. So until further notice, our free offer is valid throughout the challenging economic and employment instabilities caused by the current pandemic. For further details, see the link at the end of this presentation. So basically, it could be another year or two before everything really settles down. Who knows? But until it has settled down, or until further notice, this offer is valid. It's there for you today, you next month, you 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, at the very least. After 12 months, it will really depend on the current situation, but it could go on longer than 12 months. Let's move on. Now we want to go back in time, but this time from the perspective of an employer in any industry. Now, I recommended originally that we could have a longer break at this point, because I'm now going to move on to the employer. We've been focusing more on the employee and the job seeker and the career changer. So, guys, are you in favor of another 10 minutes? We had 5 minutes. How about 10 minutes to allow for people to go and get a cup of coffee? Anybody?
Okay, Mr. John, thank you. Over here, the sun is warm. We might not take coffee here in Lagos because the weather is warm. We'll go for a very cold, chilled water to refresh, or soda to do that. I think we just take a brief moment. IT, are you there? We can use this moment to appreciate our partners that have been there, though we are still sourcing for sponsorship. So we can just use this moment to appreciate them. I also want to thank and welcome those that are just joining us recently. We have a lot of movers and shakers of the industry here. We have CEOs, we have business founders, we have managers, we have even those that are seeking employment. It's just a gathering of the movers and the shakers of the industry. If our IT department is ready, we can just use this moment to run a few tutorials, though we pray that by the next one we'll have a big
Just so you know, I take notes all the time.
Okay, that's a good one. I must really not if I do I might explode.
I follow the principles of physics. Evaporation causes what?
Winning together, sharing together, that's our family.
Your look changes when you find your soulmate.
Well, and we have not forgotten the email
technology
for
offers
the
limitless possibilities and is in quality of business to see.
Will be displayed at the end of this. So make sure that you are not far from here so that you have the email so that you can respond, and also get a link to download all these information. This is something that you don't need to be distracted. That's why he has planned to have it make it downloadable for each and every one of us, because by the time you are copying and making notes with this information, you might lose track. So that is that. IT, are we there?
Can I come and
okay, if
yes, but okay, I came, I'm going. But
baby.
House family member.
If we have the other, let's just once again appreciate them. I want to appreciate some of our partners, Soulmate Industries, that have been there from inception. ETC Food has done wonderfully well. GMO Industry Nigeria, they have been there for us too. And those that have been supporting us from the beginning of this event up to this moment, want to say a very big thank you. And also those that have been, paying from the TMiT 1 up to TMiT 8. they keep attending. We want to appreciate you once again, and we would like you to continue in this regard. We are planning for something bigger the next one. So endeavor to follow us on our Twitter handle. Please, it is displayed at the chat session. Follow us on our Twitter handle. Follow us on Instagram. Connect with us on LinkedIn. And also go to YouTube and like Future iHub and see all the contents that are there. Put on your notification so that you will have updates as we move on. So at this point, Mr. John, I believe you can still roll so that we can wind down the event.
Okay.
Mr. John.
Okay. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay. So now let's go back in time, but from the perspective of an employer in any industry. Question 11. As an employer, would you agree that seeing actual samples, that's if it were possible, of the job applicant's work, as has happened in the creative industries for decades, would be helpful on several levels? That's a rhetorical question. Just like it is in that, like it was displayed in this clip. For example, would you agree that as an employer, improving the chances of hiring the right person the first time you advertise can save you a significant amount of wasted time and money? Not having to invoke the trial clause and terminate the employee's contract, and then have to possibly re-advertise and go through the whole hiring process and interview process again, all over again. It must be good for your business. And isn't that what often happens? You employ people, but because you're not sure, they're taken on a trial basis. But then quite often, some of them have to be let go. And the whole process starts again. How much time and money is that it has been wasted, especially if you have to advertise. And HR has to now set up interviews, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 interview sessions. It's all costing time and money. Meanwhile, the work that should have been done by the person who was first employed is now interrupted and may need to wait a few weeks before that particular work can be resumed. So that's something that can be eliminated if you could improve the hiring process initially. So as an employer, question 12, another question, sorry. As an employer, have you ever interviewed a person for one position, then ended up offering them a better position? Has that ever happened to you? Like it did with the Annabella in our video? If you are willing to send me your experience, we will publish them in future events like this one. So if you can go back and think, oh yeah, I remember I interviewed this person, or this person was interviewed by my company for this post, and then we ended up giving them a much better position. If you can remember such experiences, please, I'm so happy if you can share them and others can see them and get encouragement from it. As an employer, did you know that our program can be used as a valuable post-pandemic employee benefit or as a customer incentive? So I hope this has raised one or two eyebrows of curiosity, ears pricking up. What does he mean? So I'm going to show you a video, and then after the video, we will review it and deal with some of the issues it raises. So bear with me as we start the video.
EGP can perk up your employees and you. An innovative lifetime employee benefit perk that you can offer to all employees and their families. EGP is the AA for employment breakdowns. If an employee or a member of their family loses a job today, it guarantees them an unpaid job in admin, business, law, or media tomorrow. It can prevent any unwanted gap appearing in a CV resume. Unwanted gaps in a CV resume can slow down the quick transition from one job to another. Every week's delay in landing a new job is income lost forever. EGP members work the hours they want and the days they want. There is no minimum or maximum required. In summary, EGP could prevent several members of your employee's family from being out of work for longer than is absolutely necessary. The less an employee worries about their family, the more they can focus on being a productive worker. If you become a client, you can choose one of the following options. The free option or the charged option provides exactly the same features as the free option. However, it also gives you another income stream. Yes, EGP can perk up your employees and you. No matter how big or small your company or organization is, we would love to welcome you as a client.
So, as an employer, have you seen this kind of employee benefit before? And I'm hoping that you won't mind if I briefly review with you how it works and its benefits. So, we're talking about job loss insurance that prevents employment gaps and accelerates the speed of re-employment for your employees' families. Notice it's for primarily the employees' families. Yes, it covers the employee, but it's really targeting the families of employees. So let's just review a few of those clips that I can just elaborate on. So, unexpected job loss within the family. So, if an employee or a member of their family loses a job today, and we've been talking about the unexpected, haven't we? So, many have found that the unexpected has happened to them. A member of the family has lost their job during this pandemic. And there's no reason to think that it's not going to be any different in the coming years. The unexpected can happen. So this is designed to mitigate against that unexpected event for your employees' families. It guarantees them an unpaid job in admin, business, law, or media tomorrow. So it guarantees them a job the very next day. Now, guaranteeing a paid job, because you probably said unpaid, or people have said unpaid. Guaranteeing a paid job the next day is impossible. There's no organization that's going to go around saying, we guarantee you a paid job the next day. So let's not get bogged down with the word unpaid. Also in this clip, it mentions admin, business, law, or media tomorrow. Well, when the video was made, that's what was on offer. Since then, we've added other work areas. Currently, I believe we have 8 work areas as opposed to the 4 mentioned here. And I'm going to take this opportunity to say to businesses that we are looking for businesses to join our network to expand this provision for providing opportunities for people seeking to build a job portfolio to be able to have a wider choice of businesses that they can work for remotely under our program. So if you're a business and your curiosity is raised as to how you could join us, please get in touch. If you excuse me one moment, I believe that there's some network problem. Oh, no, it's not to do with me. I believe it's something else. So let's move on to the next clip. EGP members work the hours they want and the days they want. There is no minimum or maximum required. So as it says at the very top there, guaranteed work, but with no time requirements. And at the bottom, they can choose to work 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. It's entirely their choice. They are in control. Nobody will say, oh, you only worked half an hour today, or oh, you only did an hour yesterday. Oh, you didn't do anything on Thursday or Friday. No. The whole purpose of the program is this is for the benefit of the job seeker. Let me move on to the next slide. Right. The purpose of the program is to prevent any unwanted gap appearing in a CV. So as it says at the top there, however, EGP guarantees to prevent employment gaps. That's its purpose, to prevent employment gaps. Because as it says there, employment gaps can slow down rehiring. So unwanted gaps in a CV resume can slow down the quick transition from one job to another. And every week's delay in landing a new job is income lost forever. Time lost is money lost forever. I hope you all agree with that. The less an employee has to worry about their family, the more they can focus on being a productive worker. So that's another employment benefit. I don't know whether it's ever happened to you. I'm sure it's happened to some people. You're at work, but you've heard some bad news at home. Maybe your partner, your wife, your son, whoever brings you up, sends you a text, I've lost my job. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this or pay for that. It's hard not to be distracted when you hear such information, which is a distraction. I've just been told I've only got a little while longer, so I'm going to move a bit faster. The less an employee worries about their family, the more they can focus on being a productive worker. I think you'll agree with that. So let's move to a tip. As an incentive, when recruiting, include it in the job benefits package. What do we mean by that? Well, mention job loss insurance for the family as one of the benefits or one of the perks when you're putting out an advert. Are there or is there an employee benefit that you would like to see adopted by industries generally? if you are willing to send me your answer, we will publish them in future events like this one. So if you've all thought, you know what would be nice as an employee benefit or perk is blah, 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 please let us know and we will publish it. Welcome samples. If you're in your vacancy adverts, invite those who can provide authenticated samples of previous work done that is relevant to the job offer to include it in their application. Think of other ways. Use the innovative job loss employment gap prevention insurance to enhance your company's standing. Can you think of ways that our program could be used in the marketplace, either in a business or social setting? If you're willing to send me your suggestions, we may, if the idea is not already employed by us, come back to you to explore the possibility of implementation and financial compensation, of course. So we can help employers. Are you currently recruiting or think that you may be sometime in the near future? Do you want to reward existing employees? We can offer unlimited numbers of job loss employment gap insurance. Our subsidized charges are incredibly low and will amaze you. You can also negotiate your own deal with us. See the link at the bottom of this presentation. So, in closing, I'd like to close by going back to an incident that happened to me in 1983. It was an unexpected incident that changed my life and set me on a path that turned out to be to my great benefit. An acquaintance of mine came to visit me to sell me life insurance. Having just recently started a family, I was willing to listen to what he had to say. He persuaded me. After buying some life insurance from him, I asked him, what was it like selling life insurance? He explained that he was on a commission-only contract and he had no basic salary. So no sale, no money. In horror, I asked him, wasn't that a bit shaky, risky? Especially as, like me, he had a wife. He said 3 things to me. 2 of them were questions. The third was a principle of life. And then a light bulb switched on in my brain. That same month, I handed in my notice to a pretty secure job with a large electronics company and went self-employed. I have never worked for anyone else since. The timing of that unexpected event worked out very well for me. And I hope that what you have heard today may prove on reflection to have been both unexpected, but more importantly, beneficial, if not life-changing. So now I'm going to put on screen the download link page and recommend that in case it suddenly disappears, you take out your phones and take a shot of it, photo of it, or do a screenshot of it. So that brings me to the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John. It's really interesting to hear you read out these tips. I believe that you have done justice to most of the things that are been boggling our minds as employers, as employees, and in all our employment activities. Thank you, our participants. You've been there all the while from the time go from 4 o'clock. You've been there with us. I want to use this opportunity to give a special thanks to Bethel Amadi. He was the first person outside the team to get into the chat room, and he has been there up till this moment. I want to thank you, Mr. Bethel. You've been a wonderful participant. You came in first, and you are still there. And those of us that have been having challenges, we believe with some technical issues that some people have been facing. I want to believe that some of these have been taken care of. Mr. John, thank you very much. This is a session where we will now be open to interaction, responses, and questions briefly, so that we will not overshoot our time. We'll be able to take few questions now. Our handles will be open for further questions and interaction. Our Twitter handles, even the contact of Mr. John is also open for interaction. All these will be placed at the chat section, so please endeavor to go there, log on to all these platforms and connect with Futo iHub, connect with Mr. John. It is very, very interesting. I want to say thank you very much, Mr. John, and thank you for all our participants. Please, we'll take few questions. If you have any verbal question you would like to ask, you might have to indicate by raising up your hand. We might not take every one of you, but we'll try as much as possible to take a few of them. Then we'll continue to interact on other platform. If you have any question you'd like to ask or reaction to the lectures of Mr. John, please, may I see you raise your hand using the raise hand icon. While the chat section is open, type your questions, read it out so that you can react. Wind down. This very
We are rich, our resilience, our integrity, C, consistency, H, humility, soulmate, hair like soulmate. Working together, winning together, sharing together, that's our family. Working together, winning together, sharing together, that's our family. Soulmate, hair like soulmate.
Your look changes when you find your soulmate.
Constantly changing technology offers limitless possibilities and risk in quality of business decisions. Trusted insights are required for best results. We're proud of our clients and what we have achieved with them. We also believe our clients are proud of us. We are General Marine and Oil Services Limited. Our partner is called MO Services. We inspect, we assure, and we certify. What we do: inspection. We have eyes for details. We look deep to find the facts using the best observatory tools and techniques. Assurance. Our word is our bond. At GMO, we use the best judgment from facts to guide our clients with the best decisions. We do this with professionalism, and our clients believe us. Certification. Our signature is golden. When we issue a certificate, we mean it. Our inspection and assurance activities are certified true value. Our range of services include product inspection, lab and quality testing, cargo inspection, technical inspection, environmental services, warehouse management. We deploy our specialized skills to accomplish safe operation and excellence in services to the advantage of our clients. General Marine and Oil Services Limited, GMO, is an emerging leader in inspection, assurance and certification services. For inquiries, visit us at 2 Whole Lane GRA at Papa, Lagos, Nigeria, or call 070-9811-9427 or 070-9811-9422 or email info@gmo.com.ng or visit our website www.gmo.com.ng. GMO, constantly changing technology.
You are invited to our free live training on drop servicing. You will learn how to get paid just by providing solution to people online using other people's service.
This is very powerful. Trust me, you can't afford to miss it.
Happening live on Friday, the 16th of April, 2021. Book your seat now.
Okay, welcome back after that brief moment. I think we have a question from one of the participants. It's dropped on the chat section. That's in the person of quickly is Mr. Joseph of Febu is asking, in a scenario where the applicant cannot get a job portfolio from the employer, what other alternative should he or she go for, considering the mentality of most employers with regards to job portfolio that their employee wants to leave them? Most times they go extra miles to tarnish the image of the employee. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Mr. John Carter, do you see that?
Yes, the
Can you
answer is very
respond
simple.
to that?
The answer is very simple. They join our job portfolio program and do 1 week, 1 month, 1 day, it's up to them, working for one of our network of businesses in a specific area, and then they will have the opportunity to create a job portfolio. So just as an example, somebody, let's say they work in the legal system for solicitors. The solicitor's not going to let them perhaps take any of the file of the clients away, but they could join our network for a week or 2 weeks and work for a law organization and remotely, and their work that they do, they will be allowed to take samples of their work to take with them to their next interview. So
Okay.
it only takes 2 weeks, depending how fast you work, to create a job portfolio. Once if you're just working for that purpose, which is the point of our program, the point of the program is to help people create job portfolios. So we have businesses that accept people through our program who they know are joining the program just for that purpose. The businesses are not going to say, oh, you're only going to join for us for a week or for a day or for an hour or for 2 weeks. No. The program is designed that if you want to create a job portfolio, you can just join for that purpose. That's the whole idea of the program.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. John. I hope, Mr. Joseph, you've taken note of that response, and I believe you'll take it up from there. And if there's another person that is in line with that question too, Mr. John have read out what manner of pattern or strategies you have to adopt. I think Mr. Chinedu Eze, I thought you were raising your hand. You have a question quickly so that we can run up. Mr. Chinedu Eze, you have a question?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. John Carter for the previous slides which he has given for this program. Particularly, I want to ask him about the possibility of employers to make a program within their structure to ensure that each employee is able to confidently carry the sample of what they have done while working with them to whomever they will be approaching for further engagement. How possibly can employers be encouraged to do this? Secondly, for an employer who is looking to change a career someday, how can he or she competently, without violation of certain company principles, create a sample for him or herself to be taken to the next employment he or she is looking out to clutch onto? Thank you.
So, for the first question, am I correct in saying you're asking, can you just repeat the first question again? Just summary, just give me the key word of the first question. Is it from the perspective of the employee?
Yes, from the perspective of the employee was the first question. And the second question was from the perspective of the employer.
Okay. From the perspective, I can easily handle the one from the perspective of the employer. From the perspective of the employer, you cannot, if your company does not allow it, end of story. And otherwise you'll be stealing proprietary information that they haven't given you permission to use. The whole idea of our program is we want to, first of all, start to influence companies to think of introducing this legally into their rule book, that they actually promote it, and then they will work out a way to provide it. In the meantime, companies who join our network will use our program to help their employees create job portfolios. Our program, right now, if we had, let's say we had 300 companies across industry who joined our program is specifically there to help the employee, the unemployed, the career changer, to create job portfolios related to their specific industry. So the more different industries we have, joining our program, we will create with them programs that not only their employees can utilize, but anybody else in that particular field can utilize. So it starts with the desire to provide the program. Then they contact us and they say, you know, we'd like to work with you. How do we go about it? Where do we start? How easy is it to do this? How complicated is it? We will tell them it's not complicated. It's quite easy, and we will show them how. But to do it now, today, April 11, 12, 13, without the acceptance of the rules that govern a company, you can't. This requires a mindset change. But until the mindset change takes place globally, we as a company, Job Portfolios, are increasing the number of companies who say, yeah, I agree, that would be better. Better for us, better for the employee. How can we work with you to expand the network until it becomes an accepted way of doing things in the employment market?
Okay, that's fine. Very short one, John. Let me do a bit of test of knowledge, test of understanding. So my own understanding is that, in summary, Job Portfolio is trying to create a critical mass of
correct,
with verifiable job skills, job portfolios,
correct,
related to industries and fields, so that
correct,
employers can see what the people they want to employ beyond this beautiful CV they present to them.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it's something that will inadvertently be beneficial to employers looking for the right kind of employees and employees who have need to move job, or who maybe have lost their job within this pandemic, want to keep working, getting relevant, and closing the gaps in job experiences that they are supposed to be able to present in order for them to move on to a new job when they begin to prospect for a job, right?
Correct, because if you're an employee looking for a job, every week you have a gap in your CV. It becomes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. It then becomes a negative factor in the eyes of the one who's going to employ you, because they don't know why you have a gap of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Is it because you're not competent? Or is it truly because of the pandemic?
Hello, I have a question from Mr. John Carter.
I'm here.
Yes, sir. Can employee add a certificate of accomplishment or a certificate for a particular course as part of his job portfolio?
Of course, when it comes to the standard, we always provide CVs and certificates and degree, certificate, whatever. That's always been the case. What I'm talking about is being able to see samples for yourself, not just having someone say, yes, this person has we agree that this person is competent. We're prepared to give them a certificate of competency. Competency doesn't beat seeing. That is why a certificate of competency doesn't really work very well in the creative industries. Okay. If I want to employ an actor and he says, here's my certificate of competency, I don't want to employ him and then find 3 months later that I have to stop the film because he doesn't know how to portray this or that. And now we have to start the film again. We need to be able to have immediate evidence that the person is competent, not just rely on somebody saying they are competent.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Not correct.
And it's better for the employer because, as I said, if you can make the right choice sooner rather than later and not have to go through hundreds of interviews and then find you've chosen the wrong person, but you've given them a 3-month probation, so you have to wait for the 3 months before you can replace them. It saves the employer time and money if there's a way to improve. And all we're saying is, let's use the system that has been used already by designers and those in the creative industries for years. They've been using this system. Let's find a way to make it applicable to the other 95%.
Okay, Mr. John, I would like to ask you this question. I'll ask, before now, I was talking about work-life balance. Now, most people are working some people are working from the home, like we have the work from home issues. Now, how can an employer help the employee to manage his or her work-life balance while working from the house? There are challenges with that. There are issues, like a mother with the children and the house chores and all the rest, working from the house. How would the employer help the employee to balance the work-life scenario during this pandemic as we are having it now?
Well, to be honest with you, I would say do research because there's so many theories. There are so many people exploring this issue because it's just happened in the last 12 months. I don't believe there's any expert out there who can say this is the way to do it. So there are people who are exploring that right now. So all you can do is look at the best current advice and decide where the sources come. Who is the source of this advice? Is it generally accepted? But I'm not in a position to say, oh, do this or do that. I'm like everybody else. I'm learning to, like you all. Sorry if that doesn't satisfy you, but it's the honest truth.
Yeah, that's correct. I think John is correct.
We have a question from Chidi off room.
I'm listening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, we have a question from Mr. Chidi off room. The question says, job applicants insert multitasking skills as a skill in order to get the job while in practice. Such an applicant complains bitterly and would even start looking for other jobs when faced with multiple tasks. How do you treat this cliche during the interview?
I don't understand the question. Please rephrase.
Okay, Chidi.
Let Chidi rephrase that, and while you go on to the second question that Chidi asked.
If you are there, can you just rephrase what you're talking about? Can you unmute and rephrase the first question?
Hello,
Chidi,
Mr. Shaw. Yeah, good evening. My name is Chidi.
Good evening, Chidi.
Okay. Popularly, when an applicant is about submitting a CV, you see such an applicant that as part of the skills that he or she has multitasking skills, that he can do many jobs, many tasks at a time. So when faced during interview, he may be able to convince the panel that he can actually do multiple tasks. But when finally recruited and also faced with multiple tasks, you see such an applicant, now an employee, start complaining bitterly of the multiple tasks before him. And in most cases, you may see him looking for another job or complaining bitterly. So my question is, how do you treat such an issue when an applicant inserts in his CV that he has the capacity to multitask?
Well, I'm not sure whose perspective you're asking me to look at it. Are you asking it from the point of view of the employee who ends up complaining, or the point of view of the employer who sees these multi-skills?
Sorry, I never tried. I'm not gonna.
I think it's from the employee. Let's learn from the employee.
I'm talking about both from the employee, from the employer, and also from the panel. You know, sometimes the recruiting agent may be a third party and maybe an outsourcing firm. So during the panel, how do you look at it? How do you look at the CV and also look at the applicants to ask qualifying questions while he inserted multitasking skills?
Hello, John.
Yes.
Hello, John.
Sorry. Yes.
Let me help out here.
Okay.
And I think what Chidi is trying to find out is if there is a way that the program will be able to.
Which program? Sorry.
The job portfolio program that the guys would do to is their portfolio or evidence their portfolio will be able to identify that particular multitasking skills which is becoming a cliche in CVs, and I think that is what Chidi is trying to ask.
Let me answer that then very briefly. If whatever you're going to claim to be able to do, it's better if you can demonstrate that you can do it.
Yeah.
That's first of all. So an individual who is on our platform, depending on which membership they're on, they could devote 1 week to one area, another week to another area. In other words, 1 week on law, working for the law firm, do 1 week working for a bookkeeping, do 1 week working for media, do 1 week working for so-and-so, or 3 days here, 3 days. So they can choose to work through the different areas and have portfolio evidence for those different areas. Now, which one they use and which combination they use, that will depend on the job they're applying for. So if I had skills in media and skills in translation, if I had evidence that I can do translation and I can do bookkeeping and I can do marketing, but I'm applying for a job working for a law firm, I would think, well, which ones would be useful? I wouldn't just give them everything. So that's number one. Number two, from the employer's point of view, they normally are specific in what they're looking for. They're looking for this type of person who can do this type of job. So if you overwhelm them with too many things that you can do and say, I can prove that I'm good at cook, I can cook, I'm a good cooker, I'm a good swimmer, this is evidence. That gets too much, doesn't it? You have to be thinking, what does the employer want to be convinced in, and what do I have that will convince him?
Yeah.
So you select. I remember often we get this. It's become modern practice in many places, maybe also in where you guys are. But people are told, don't have one CV. Have you heard that? Have multiple CVs. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why multiple CVs? Because you're applying and trying to attract different types of employers. So if you have multiple CVs, wouldn't it be advantageous to have multiple job portfolios? So you can select. This isn't a one-time thing. Oh, join the job portfolio program for 1 week and that's it for life. This is about building evidence that you can select from that evidence depending on what type of job you're going for. So it may mean doing different types of working with different types of companies maybe during your holidays, during breaks, in the evenings, whatever, to build evidence-based in different work scenarios.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John. It has been a wonderful 2 hours, 21 minutes. We have run through this event. I think we'll begin to move the rest of the discussion to all other platforms. And I want to remind us that we had from the beginning, we had a questions that were posed by the guest speaker, which could earn you up to £100 support for the program. The email will be published before we log out in a few minutes. The email will be published. We also publish our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram handle, our website, and also our email, so that we can continue this conversation, because we can't take all your questions. We have wonderful questions I want to ask, I want to attend them, but time might not permit us. So at this juncture, I will like the IT department to publish all the necessary information so that we can begin to log into them and continue this conversation over there. I think yes, it's been published. So take note of all the emails, the Twitter handle, the Facebook, and all the rest of them, social media, so that we can continue to move on. And I also want to, I don't know if Ms. John, you can quickly publish the download link once again, so that the PDF of the slide that can be downloaded from the downloading link that you share, so that you can have all these materials and review them and use it to answer the questions that will lead us to having that coupon, £100 coupon. Please do that. And without wasting much time, I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Collins to wind down this session. Thank you very much.
May I interrupt with one very briefly, please?
Okay, go ahead.
Are you confirming to me that the last slide, which contains the download link and the email address, together with the 5 reasons why you might want to use the download link, will all of that information be transferred? Hello?
Are you asking if it has been transferred?
Will be or has been. That last slide.
Yeah, it will be sent to the email address of everyone. Yeah.
Oh, you're showing me that slide. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Everyone should check their email address within say 12 to 18 hours from now, and they will get all the information they require. And also the contact for assistance on how to get to the portfolio, and also the questions and where to push their answers to, so that John can evaluate and give that. And if necessary, and if it becomes very, very necessary, anyone, you could ask for any form of other assistance to be able to access any of these portals or support. And if the request or the need is very genuine, you will get it. The hub will work with John to see that those who are really, really indigent enough to be able to need that support will get it. And this is actually the reason why he has made this access free until further notice, until the whole situation in the world becomes stable. And that's awesome. If you must understand, there are just a few people who are doing this, and I mean, this is awesome. And it's also one of the things that the hub was actually set up for, and this is coming at the right time for a lot of people who have actually, I know a lot of people who have asked me about how they can get on top of um, um, remote working, and I know a few people who are here in this platform now that are actually working remotely in their organization. I can mention one of them, Geraldine Ojede. You're here. You could even give a bit of an experience on that, and she is actually a top finance person in one of the fintechs. As she works remotely, she's here. And there are other people. Chidi works in a bank and he works remotely. One of the big banks, Access, he works remotely. And a lot of people are actually asking, how can they get on this? How can they start this? And that is what John has told us. You know, you cannot say you want to work remotely, but what is going to show that you are able to do that, or you are able to provide those skills that people are ready to pay for? You want to also go for a face-to-face interview, and John is saying, who is going to be saying, yes, you actually, the period you have stayed at home, you're actually doing something and getting a bit of hold on your time. And a lot of people come out of university, they come out of youth service, they spend 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then by the time they are getting a job that fits their study or fits their degree, the question will be, what have you been doing at home all these years? And so the job portfolio is saying you have an opportunity to create a reference for your skills. It is not about writing all the exams, doing all the certifications, and then saying that you have competencies for this. It is saying you have the skills, you have done this, you have done that, you have the skills to do that, and you did it with so company, and the companies can verify, or they can actually click and verify from job portfolio that you have done this, and you have these skills, you have gone through. And by the way, a lot of people also call and say they want to do their industrial training from our own university and from a lot of other universities. And I think somebody like me and the hub and those in the innovation hub are seeing this opportunity. And for plenty of reasons, this is going to be presented to the university and say, look, there is an opportunity for the students to get on and do remote work as an intern and be able to present this as a work. And if it works well, because there's a way somebody needs to also sign the logbook. Somebody needs to sign the logbook. And of course, if that becomes a challenge, the hub and have a representative who will be who would have been a strong partnership with John and portfolio to sign the logbook for the intern, so that they can present something and go up to the lecturers and defend what they have done as an interview. So these are not some opportunity for a lot of people to be able to build portfolios of what they have done, build a log of experience on what they have done. So for this, we thank Don for bringing this opportunity to us and bringing this learning and bringing this mentorship to a lot of people. And I would say that this is awesome. I'd also say again that there may be also opportunities for a one-on-one, and John, as they get onto the platform, there might be reasons, or there might be something that would want any of them to write an email to you directly and ask questions and ask for direction. And if that happens, John, please, we will like you to quickly respond and take them up. Some of the questions would be confusing, like you just asked for rephrasing. This will happen, and so that people get a load of benefit on this particular aspect of their lives. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Moses, Chinedu. Thank you, Chidi, David, Daniel, Frank, Betel Amadi, the great Chiahu, Joseph, Akin, Elizabeth, Geraldine, Charles, Sunekachi, Edukam, Adana, Bele, and everybody. You know, a lot of people have them pulled out. I'm sure they have other meetings they want to attend, and it's awesome. Over 50 individuals, and all stayed until the end of the lecture, up till the Q&A session. And this is so awesome. That's to show how interesting this topic is for both employees, for employers like us, and for the employment scenario globally. Thank you so much, John.
Okay.
Thank you, Chinedu. Yeah.
My pleasure. Bye-bye, everybody.
And Moses, where are you?
Bye-bye, sir.